Okay, I think we're going live now. I'm trying to film a blog because I'm going to move the mouse away from me. I've been thinking about an idea because I was reading this Lungles Wilder and Rose Wilder Lane, authorship, place, time, and culture by John Miller. Really good by Lungles Wilder. And since we talked about it at Lollapalooza, probably pretty happy with the Cardinals right now. Anyway, I was reading it and I hit an idea and I thought about typing it up and submitting it to Beyond Little House as a blog, but I'm not sure that it's really as interesting to everybody else as it would be to me, or a thought that everyone else has thought of, or whatever. So one of the things I thought would be that I would film this, and I wanted to get the camera so it's like higher so I don't look like just this floating head. Maybe that's a little better. Anyway, so that they would, a couple of them I know see it, so they might tell me if it's worthwhile to type up or not. Anyway, the one thing it talks about all through is Rose's interest in houses. She moves around. She moves from Mansfield to Kansas City. I think there's a couple other places in Missouri she ended up before she moved out to San Francisco. And then she lived in San Francisco for several years before she went to Europe with the Red Cross after World War One. She lived in Albania for a couple of years. She moved back to Mansfield, and there was more in Europe. And then she moved on throughout Missouri and ended up having a house in Connecticut and an apartment in New York. And then finally, I don't know the exact, sorry, my Rose information is not quite up to what everyone else's is, I probably think. Anyway, there's a house in San Antonio that she ended up dying at in 1967. While Laura, the story of the books is her moving from place to place in her childhood. But then, once she gets married, they move to Minnesota for a little while, basically because they've lost everything, and they stay at his parents' house to rest and recuperate. They try to move down to Florida, and it just doesn't go well. They move back to DeSmet with her family, and finally they moved down to Mansfield. And they stayed in Mansfield from 1894 until Laura's death in 1957. 63 years. They moved to another house that Rose had built at one point for them, and they moved into town briefly before that, before the farm got started. But they pretty much lived in Mansfield the rest of their lives from the time Laura was 27 until her death at age 90. And that's a long time to live in one place. I'm not talking about me, but most people, have moved to houses in 60-some years. And the one thing I find interesting about this and how Rose moved around is that everybody talks about how Laura's pa in the series and Mary is mom, and that they're opposites, and that Laura is like pa and she wants to keep moving and she wants to keep moving. Several people talk about how she's giving in to societal pressures when she settles down as she grows up. And I was reading this and I was thinking it's interesting is that in The Wilder Life, which I can't get to show you because my aunt's reading and very much enjoying, she talks about how Laura's not really the tomboy you talk about. I mean, when she talks the teen angst that's in Little Town on the Prairie, she's not worried about, oh no, I can't go play ball with the boys. She's worried, can I afford name cards? How do my clothes look? Very feminine ideas. And it seems to me that then, and Ma's the one that wants to stay, is that Laura is very much like Ma in those regards. And instead of a pull between Mom, Pa, and Laura and Mary in the books. I'm wondering, and I'm trying to figure out how to develop the idea, which is one of the reasons I'm filming this, is that there's almost a pull, if I'm seeing this right, between Laura and Rose in the characterizations of Ma and Pa. Is that Rose is Pa and wanting to go to the next place, and Laura is Ma and content to stay settled. And one of the things I'm talking about is that Ma's into the ladies' aid, she's into church, she's into the community. Whereas Laura, if you learn about it, she had jobs with the bank, she had the Athenian Society, where they were learning and growing the very community-oriented groups, and that she very much found her place there. And most of her writings, if you look in the Missouri Ruralist, were about the joys of home and family in a small farm in the small town that she very much liked. Rose's stories were never, even when they took place in a small town, you kind of get the attitude that this was not easy, and nor did she suggest to people that they go and live like that. Sorry, I keep thinking I need a haircut, and this is distracting me. Maybe I should have filmed this on Thursday if I get my hair cut. And then we get to Rose and Pa, and I remember learning in history is that there was 3 reasons people moved to the U.S. Either it was for God, for gold, or for glory. One of those 3. They were either seeking religious freedom, seeking the glory of conquering the new land and maybe moving back and being strong conquerors, or gold for money. And I think we can see that some even still farther with the westward expansion, is that they're doing it. Now, I would say maybe God might be more the evangelism, the converting the Indians, or maybe some religious freedom. For the Ingalls, I don't see that as an issue. They were mainline Protestant, and there's just no any kind of religious overtones necessarily to see what's happening there. The next choice would be for gold or for glory, and I think in there you can see Pa and Rose's issues. One gold, one money. Obviously, we all need money to live, and Rose moved around trying to research her books to write the stories. Pa moved on trying to find a successful farm rather than staying in one place. Maybe not the right idea, but so there's some, and there's also some glory there. And Rose, I think, when you read this biography and everything, was very wanting to write something that lasted. Wanted to write something of her own that lasted, not necessarily helping her mother do the, I guess she came around to it more later after a lot of struggle. So I would say there was a lot of glory seeking there, and almost to some extent I would wonder if that was true about Pa, because we never really hear about that, but I think, he's getting elected at the towns they go to, so he's wanting to be well known in town. That's not necessarily said in the books, but he is. He's going out there, he's meeting people, so that's kind of interesting. Also, too, they're writing home and saying how, oh my gosh, the adventures that Charles and Carolyn are having, and wow, aren't we impressed? And so that seems to me, I think that, so that too, I'm wondering, and I don't know, maybe I don't have this developed well enough, but is that instead of a struggle when you look at Ma and Mary as being the nice feminine little ones, and Pa and Laura as being sort of the rebels who want to do it, is that while we're reading this, we might need to look at it as Ma being a parallel for Laura and Rose being a parallel for Pa. So let me know what you think. I think anyone who well, my vlog is probably Learn Goes Wilder fan. So let me know what your impression is of this. So that's my exciting Saturday night. Hopefully we'll see what yours is. Bye.